Okay, welcome to OG Live Grading. I'm your live grader, Aaron. Just thank you so much for submitting your cards. All right, let's go. Okay, so first up, we have a 2019-2020 season Panini Select, Kevin Durant. Pretty awesome card. Okay. All right, so let's get to looking at this card. So first off, as you can see, this card has no defined centering borders, and at OG we do not fabricate centering points. So this card, we use an eye appeal standard, and it passes the eye appeal standard. So this card is gem mint eligible. It's great right off the bat. Okay, so this is maybe your first time. This is a live grade. So I always use a 10x magnifying glass in order to inspect the card. If I see any issues, I will, after inspecting the area of the card, I will pull the fixed magnifying glass forward so that to share with all of the viewers. All right, thank you. All right, so let's go. So I always start off with the corners, run down the corner, across the edges. We're looking for thickness issues, and of course at a corner for flaring. Not really looking at the surface very much. Sometimes there's little issues on an edge that is also on the surface. Like there's a slight delamination on the edge front surface of this card, but we'll look at that in a moment. So these edges and corners look great. Very sharp. Really nice. Okay, so these corners and the edges have no noticeable issues. That's awesome. Okay, so next I will now start to inspect the surface of the card. It looks like there's a minor scratch at the top right. We'll look at that together. And a minor surface irregularity as well. A couple of minor scratches down near the bottom here. All right, so let's inspect underneath my finger just in case, of course. All right, so that's with the light on, and now I have to do a sweep with the light off. Oftentimes things like dimples are much easier to see when you switch the light source. Okay, so let's look at those couple of minor issues on the front of this card together. So here's another 10x magnifying glass. This one is a it's fixed, so I can hold it right up to the camera to share everything with you. Okay, so here near the top there is a minor delamination. Just a second, sorry. A little funny with the light right now. That might be superior for the moment. We'll switch it if it looks better. So right near the top here, there's the slightest irregularity. Not major, very minor. Okay, and then there's a little bit of a scratch, very minor scratch. Up near the top as well. Let's pass the light over it. Okay, there. See the minor scratch right there? Okay, now this surface irregularity that I think I mentioned right here in that little spike. There you can see the light spot just above his shoulder, just a minor surface irregularity. Okay, and then there's a couple of minor scratches down here. So it took a little longer to show you guys these minor issues. I think we'll get the hang of it soon. Doesn't typically take this long to hit the light just right. Two minor scratches near the silver part of that card. There they are. Very minor issues. Nothing significant on the front, but several. Still really great. All right, so let's inspect the back of this card now. Same thing. You do want to re-glance at the corners and the edges. To be a minor chip on the surface at that corner. We'll look at that together. All right, let's do that then. So this, double check for any thickness issue. None. No flaring at this corner. That's great. But we'll look at that again together. So here's the, under the fixed light, the fixed magnifying glass. There you can see the white. Just a minor chip. And then as we check, if you want to look at it from the side, just to see the flaring, that there is none. Right there. It's the same curvature throughout the card. So great. All right, so that's, now let's check the rest of the surface. It's like a minor dimple up there. We'll look at that together. Really awesome card, Kevin Durant. Okay. Okay, that was just a sweep of the light. Okay, so let's, this minor dimple. Let's see how well this shows up. Some issues tend to show up better on camera than others. There, see the minor dimple? Very minor. See how hard it was to catch? Just the light in the right spot. But okay. So this card, I hope you guys enjoyed it. So let's review with this card the grade. So there was a few minor surface issues on the front and the back. The corners were spotless. They were flawless. So because of the minor issues, just let me calculate. Okay, so with the amount of minor issues on this card is an OG 9. This card is mint. Awesome card. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Let me record this. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next card. It's another Kevin Durant. If you saw in the description, Kevin Durant is a player that we'll be looking at today. This was the submitted cards to us. Thank you again for submitting them for live grading. It's a great service. Okay, so this card is also similar to the last one. Does not have a clearly defined border, and we at OG do not refuse to fabricate the border where the design of the card is, of course, different without a square border across it. So this we will use an eye appeal standard, which is of course very sharp, very strict. If a card fails an eye appeal standard, it drops it down dramatically. But this card, of course, looks Kevin Durant looks fairly well centered. Nothing looks to be off, and even if he is off centered, it looks to be a artistic choice. Really cool. Look at the refraction of the card. It's nice. The foil card. Kevin Durant. This is a 2020 Panini Elite, Donruss Elite. Looks like a foil refractor, if you want to call it that. Foil Elite. Okay, so let's check this out. So this card, of course, passes the eye appeal standard and is gem mint eligible. Okay, so again, using the 10x magnifying glass, I will inspect the corners down through the edges. And I'm not inspecting this area yet, but there is a dimple right there. We'll look at that together in a moment. Corners are of critical importance on a card. Card can look perfect otherwise, but if the corners are in bad shape, it really hurts the card's appeal. Okay, so the corners were all perfect, very sharp, really nice and sharp corners. Okay, so now I will inspect the surface. Looking for scratches and dents, dimples, any surface irregularity, really. Another minor dimple right here. And two more down here. And that one that I saw before when checking the edges. No scratches though, nothing significant so far. Really nice. Looks like a minor crease. It's hard to notice actually, but it's definitely a small crease on this with another small scratch behind it. Okay, so let's look at the card again without the light. We feel at OG, at objective grading, that the 10x is a reasonable standard to hold a card to. It's not ridiculous. We're not putting this through 100 times magnification and grading it on every hair out of place. That's not appropriate or accurate. but a 10x is really just like supervision. Anything that you could see without it, it really just stands out with. This is not a gotcha. All right, so let's look at those few dimples together. Okay, so here we go. Here's the front. Here's the same magnification that I was just inspecting with. All right, let's pop this light on. It's nice. Okay, so there's a dimple right here near the Elite. You can see it right in the rainbow. Okay, then the largest one, which is still minor, it's just the largest dimple. There we go, right at the bottom. Right about there. Okay. Okay, and there's two others on near the Brooklyn Nets, near the Brooklyn sign, the Nets. Again, these are all minor. All of these are minor dimples. And there's the crease. It's a minor crease. We'll double check that that does not pass through the card. It does not appear to. It appears to be 100% surface. And then just beyond that crease, closer to my thumb, there is another scratch. It's a minor surface irregularity. It looks to be a scratch. Let's just make sure you guys can see what I'm looking at. There we go. Okay. So this card still looks really awesome. Just a few minor issues. Let's start inspecting the back of this card. Okay, again, I'm going to run across the corners. Back surface. Wow, it looks really nice. Okay, light off. Okay. All right. So the back of this card had no noticeable issues at all. The front just had several minor issues. Not too defeating of this card. Really nice card. So let me just calculate this up. So this card had the few minor issues on the front that we all looked at together. And because of those minor issues, so because of that, this card grades as an 8, which is near mint to mint. Awesome card. All right, so let me just write that down. Let's get that submitted. And we'll move on to the next card. Just a moment. Just bear with me for a second. Okay. Sorry about this, guys. Just working through something short, fast. Okay, there we go. So pretty exciting Sports news, of course. See Ohtani winning the MVP, really exciting. Okay. All right, so next up, we have another Kevin Durant. Okay, this is the 2020 Panini Chronicles basketball. Awesome card, really cool. Okay, so this card deceptively has two borders. But it's a really nice, it's very like a newspaperish, like it's chronicling his greatness. Kevin Durant. Pretty classy looking card, I think. A little bit underappreciated sometimes. Nice front and back. Okay, so this card again does not have the clearly defined border. And so I will be using the eye appeal standard, the strict eye appeal standard. Everything looks appropriate. Okay, so this card is Gem Mint eligible. Okay, so let's get to inspecting. Okay, again, we're going to start off with the corners. Appears to be a minor dent, that's surface, but corners and the edges are all sharp. Really nice. Wow, nice corners. This card looks pretty sturdy. Of course, it's a card, so it's always potentially can have corner issues, but this card does not. It's awesome. A lot of black and white on this card. If it's made in some ways, it could cause a lot of like ink spots, but there is none. This card is clean as far as printing errors or such. So I'm scanning the surface again, looking for maybe dimples, scratches, of course, any other surface irregularity. Some kind of discoloration that happens, of course, on older cards normally. This card looks nice. All right, so there's those couple minor little dimples right above the R and better. And the other one was off to the right side. Yeah, there. It's very minor. Really have to hit the light just right with it. Okay, light off. Now let's get the light on. To keep the light off now. Same thing. See if I can hit the gloss on this card to see any issues. Okay, so let's look at those two minor issues. For a second there, I thought this card might have been flawless, but then I remembered the minor dimple to the side, and of course this other one above the R. Okay, so let's see if that again. I guess it looks to be more above the E, kind of on an angle. There we go. Very minor dimple. Minor, super minor. And then right here across on the side of this card near his knee. Let's get this a little more clear. There we go. It's a linear dimple. Interesting. Very minor. See, it hits the light just right. Okay, so the front of this card is awesome. Perfect corners. Just a couple minor indications on the front. Very minor. Okay, let's inspect the back here. Let's hope it's just as clean. Again, paying a little bit special attention to the corners. There's like a minor chip in this top right corner from the back. Double check the thickness. Make sure it's not a flare. It is not. Let's look at the rest. Again, this card seems to be hiding a few dimples. The front was difficult to see, as well as the back. My gosh, these are all minor dimples, but they're there. Okay, so let's look at this. Just a second. Let's run this across. Light on, light off. Make sure the lighting conditions are appropriate to seeing any of the irregularities with this card, if there are any. Imperfections, sorry. All right, so the top of this card does have a minor chatter running across it with two minor chips and a few minor dimples in the back. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, this top edge, just a little bit of chatter across it. It looks, maybe it was a little bit rough cut, you could say, but it's a little worse than hairy. And that leads to the first chip right there. So, sorry, square it back up. There's the first, there's a chip there, and then into this corner as well. We're going to look at that a little closer. There's a chip there. Okay, so there's two chips. Okay, then there's a couple of dimples in these black lines crossed by the nets. Two minor dimples. Okay, and then I also then inspected and saw two minor dimples center of the card. One by the L. And the other one beneath intelligent. Both center. Call that center as far as location, and on the description, that's what it will say. There it is. That one's a little tougher to see. Only white around it. Okay, there we go. Very minor, very minor. Okay, so let's review this card. It's a really awesome card. Sharp corners, just a few dimples. And so a couple dimples on the front, a few dimples and chips on the back. All right, so let's calculate what this card is. So this card had minor dimples across it, as I just said, very, very minor issues, but they do add up. And because of that, this card grades as a 9. This card is mint. Okay, so let's record that. Move on. Really nice card. Okay, so that's the last card of this live grading session. We have a Marvel card. So we do sports cards, Marvel cards, whatever kind of cards you got, we will grade them. They all have the same kind of criteria. You review them just as fairly, as objective as any other kind of card. Okay, so this card obviously has no defined borders, defined borders for centering. And so this follows our strict eye appeal standard. Our eye appeal standard is strict because to fail this eye appeal standard is extremely detrimental to the card. It hurts the viewing of this card tremendously. This card passes the eye appeal standard and is gem mint eligible. Okay, so this card is an ultimate Venom. Okay, upper deck, 2015 upper deck. Hero Pow Ore. So pretty nice. There looks appear no major issues with this card that I can see off first glance. Minor surface irregularity there, but let's get to inspecting. So let's start off with the corners. Of course, that is the hardest area of a card to remain sharp. Taking them in and out of cases, if you're not careful, dropping them, a corner is going to be damaged much faster than almost any other area of a card. Wow, these corners look nice. No thickness issues. At least from the front. I will re-glance at them, of course, from the back. Nice card. Pretty cool. Marvel cards are, I mean, who doesn't like comics? The Marvel Universe. All right, so these corners are all sharp. Edges are all nice. All right, so now let's inspect the surface here. Okay, so there's that surface irregularity I mentioned. We'll look at that closer. I think I'm mistaken. First glance, that looks to be like a delaminated, but that is, no, that's refracting. That's part of the design of the card. That's why we look at it closer. Little bit of chatter across this bottom, but very nice. Nothing to decrement for. Okay, so that's the light on. And again with the light off. Wow. I'm actually surprised. I thought for sure that this submitted card would have had a few issues. It's rare to not see something obvious. Okay, so the front of this card was nice. Really nice. Just a little bit of like minor chatter across this bottom. Very minor. Not something to decrement points on. Just you can see how it isn't quite level. Okay, let's flip this card over. Inspect the back again, re-looking at the corners. So like this card has a little dust on it, maybe. Let's make sure it's nothing. Yep, just some dust. Okay, there appears to be a minor chip in this bottom right corner from the back. So it's a chip on the surface at the corner, to be more accurate. It's a surface chip, but I got to look at that a little closer to be sure. Anytime there's a chip near a corner, it always sends up a red flag. You know, give extra attention to this area. No, nothing else noticeable on this card. Okay, so let me look at that corner a little closer. Now it looks to be all surface. We'll look at that together in a moment after I'm sure. Okay. So let's pull this up. Let's inspect this together. So right there on that corner, the surface, I think you can all see the visual, a crease. It's a surface crease. But let's take a look from the side. Verify that it's not a thickness issue. That would be much more detrimental. That would not bode well for this card. That's square. Look at that. Perfect. Straight across. All right, so let's review this card again. So this card just had a little bit of minor chatter, very minor, nothing significant. The only issue on this card was the minor crease in the bottom right, which we looked at together. So with only one issue, let's evaluate this card. This card grades as a 10. This card is gem mint. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me. Finish it off with a cool Venom card. Let me record this up. Thanks for watching, or thanks for watching in the future. Really a great time to look at this card, to inspect with you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Check out our website at oggrading.com. Check out the card profiles. You'll see the cards that have been graded by me or by any of our other graders. If you sell your cards on eBay, you can compare the card profile to the card that's being sold. Use any of our other services, the card fingerprinting. We offer very unique services that are, again, unique in this marketplace. For example, live grading. So please check us out. Submit your cards for the next live grade, and come and join our team. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good night.